The science of nutrition is a mere 200 years old. That seems to be just enough time to really confuse the public about what to eat. Nutrition information is forever changing, and people often throw up their arms in mass confusion. I'm here to help answer some of your most burning nutrition-related questions. But in the end, you really only have to have the answer to one question. Do you live to eat, or do you eat to live? Hi, I'm Elizabeth Brown, and on today's show, we're going to talk about omega-3 fats. What they are, what they can do for you, and where do you get them. So I'm going to make a dish called salmon in parchment paper with julienne vegetables. Because when you think of omega-3 fats, fish comes to mind. Here's the ocean. There's a lot of fish in there. Let's go get one. Maybe not. Here I am at the local fish market, which is a more convenient place to get a great selection of fresh fish. Well, I'm going to buy some salmon because it's the best source of those omega-3s that we're looking for. So we have two choices here, and usually wild salmon is the best way to go, but I was just informed that this wild salmon is not fresh, but it was
flash frozen in the boats.
Flash frozen. Okay. So as soon as they catch it, they freeze it.
Exactly.
So I bought my salmon, and I learned that salmon can be flash frozen on the boat, but once you buy it and take it home, you can't refreeze it, and you have to use it within 2 to 3 days. Fish is one of the richest sources of a particular type of omega-3 fatty acid called DHA. And DHA is the longest of all the omega-3 fatty acids. It has 22 carbons and 6 double bonds. And that makes it very long and flexible so that when it's incorporated into specific cells, it allows for quick delivery of nutrients in and out of the cell. And that's important because DHA is found in high concentrations in cells that require a rapid response, such as cells in the brain, the eye, the heart, and the muscle of trained athletes. Who would have known we got so many benefits just from eating this one little fish? Hi, we're here at the farmers market, and farmers markets are a great place to buy locally grown fresh produce. So we're on the lookout for some omega-3 rich sources. So collard greens are another great source of omega-3s. They're one of those cold weather greens, and the omega-3s actually helps them to adapt in that cold weather climate. It actually helps increase your metabolism because each cell, when it's denser in omega-3s, actually has to burn more calories to move around and to let things flow in and out of the cell. So to make the fish in parchment paper with julienne vegetables, we're actually going to start with a leafy green vegetable, which is actually one of the richest sources in omega-3 fats, collard greens. To start preparing the collard greens, we're going to remove the rib, which is the center stem, which a lot of people would remove and just throw away, but a lot of the nutrients are there, so we're going to preserve that stem. It's actually going to serve as the bed for our fish when we plate it, but it's actually going to cook in the parchment with everything else, so all the flavors are going to meld together, makes it easier for preparation and cleanup. We're going to do what's called a chiffonade. You take the collard greens or any type of green and you roll them up and then you cut them crosswise so you get little ribbons. And then we just take the ribs and we dice those into a small to medium dice. This is all going to cook together, so we're preserving all the nutrients, not wasting any of these wonderful vegetables that we got at our local farmers market. And the next vegetable we're going to incorporate is a red beet. And we're going to julienne all of our root vegetables. They're in season right now. Not necessarily rich sources of omega-3 fats, but all very rich in antioxidants. To do a julienne cut for a vegetable, you want to cut the end off and then cut the vegetable lengthwise into about a 1/4 inch thick slice. Notice the beautiful colors in these red beets, which is an indication of their antioxidant content. Those are foods that are rich in an antioxidant called an anthocyanin. And the next vegetable we're going to use is also a root vegetable, and these are purple potatoes. You just cut them lengthwise, and again, lengthwise very thinly, so that you get that julienne cut, which allows for a faster cooking time. Now that we've gotten those rich anthocyanins in our diet, we're going to add some carotenoids, which we also get in our leafy greens, but in carrots, the orange color tells you that they're rich in beta-carotene. So we'll take about half a carrot, cut off the end, just a little bit of the side of the carrot, so that you have a nice flat surface for cutting your julienne cuts. And cut lengthwise again. Now, although all these vegetables add wonderful flavor on their own, to really bring the flavor up a bit, I'm going to add an allium vegetable, which not only adds flavor, but also more of those great antioxidant nutrients. So we take the onion, cut into thin slices, just about 3 slices to add to our fish dish. And to add some additional flavor, we're going to use a variety of fresh herbs. So I have marjoram, thyme, oregano, which is a very rich source in omega-3 fats, and rosemary. I consider these to be more savory herbs which complement the root vegetables, the leafy greens, and the salmon. So we'll just take a little bit off of each one and dice them up. We'll sprinkle some in the root vegetables and on the fish right before we wrap it in the parchment. And then we just dice up all those fresh herbs together. Make sure it's a nice fine dice. Now to add more flavor and more antioxidants, we're going to add a lemon, which adds an antioxidant called limonene. We want to cut the lemon because we're going to juice it on top of the fish. We're also going to cut a few slices just to garnish the fish. So I took a piece of parchment paper about 2 feet long and cut a half circle, and we're going to set it on the baking sheet so we can assemble our fish in parchment paper. So we start with the leafy green vegetable, which is the base, and set that on the bottom. And to that we're going to add our julienne cut root vegetables, lots of color, lots of antioxidants. Just place those on top. And then we add our sliced onions, some fresh herbs. We're going to add about half the fresh herbs to this part, a squeeze of lemon, and our salmon pieces. I'm using 4 ounces of salmon, which you'll see is about the size of the palm of my hand. We set that on top and place some lemon on top and the rest of the fresh herbs. We enclose the parchment paper by rolling the edges. First you tuck under the one corner and then you just roll it and crimp as you roll. And tuck under the edges. What we're trying to do is create a seal so this dish will be steamed. Once the fish is in the parchment paper and on the baking sheet, we're going to put it in an oven set at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. While the salmon and parchment is in the oven cooking, I'm going to talk to you about some plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids. Romaine lettuce is a cold weather vegetable, very rich in omega-3 fats, topped with strawberries, another rich source of omega-3 fatty acids, plus flaxseed and walnuts, 2 of the richest sources of those same omega-3 fatty acids. Now you've heard a lot about omega-3s, which are an essential fatty acid. You may have also heard a lot about omega-6s, another essential fatty acid. Unfortunately, we currently get too much omega-6 in the diet, but omega-6s have a purpose. They help blood to clot, which is perfect if you cut yourself, but not so great if you're at risk for a heart attack or a stroke. They also promote inflammation, which is part of the healing process. But it's kind of like if you get in a car accident and your airbag deploys, you can't drive your car again until you put the airbag back in its place. And that's where omega-3s come into play. Omega-3s help blood to not clot, thereby preventing heart attacks and strokes, and they help promote anti-inflammation. It's like putting that airbag back in its place. So get more omega-3s in your diet and strike a healthy balance. Strawberries are one of the few fruits that are also a good source of omega-3s, and it's actually believed that omega-3s used to be more prevalent in the diet in the summertime because they actually help increase your energy expenditure. And in fact, they even looked at research where they showed that animals that hibernate eat fewer omega-3 rich foods in the winter as they're getting ready to hibernate, and if they alter their diet and consume high omega-3 rich foods in the winter, they won't go into hibernation. So it literally affects your energy and your ability to rest. We're just trying to get our energy in balance by getting more omega-3s in our diets, and strawberries are a good source of those. Now let's see if our salmon is done. Smells good. You just want to be really careful when you take it out of the oven and you open up the parchment because it's been steaming. It smells wonderful, and everything is cooked together. All the vegetables are beautifully done. So here we have our omega-3 rich meal, a great combination of plant-based and animal-based omega-3 rich sources. It smells wonderful. Delicious. In the end, no matter what you eat, simply eat to live for a lifetime of health and happiness.